Drunk and utterly convinced of his own impunity, the tourist believed his fat wallet gave him the right to do anything. He sidled right up to the royal guard, reeking of booze and sweat, and tried to grab him in a sloppy hug right in front of Buckingham Palace. But what happened next stunned everyone nearby and turned the entire day upside down. Let's start from the beginning. Among the motley crowd stood one especially colorful figure, a huge, heavy-set tourist swaying side to side. He could barely put two words together, and he staggered around like he could topple over at any second. That's how drunk he was. The worst part was the stench of booze and sweat radiating from him for a good few yards. People nearby either recoiled or covered their noses, and some, the more squeamish types, immediately started filming the spectacle on their phones. At the center of it all stood a royal guard, upright, focused, sporting a majestic bearskin cap and an impeccable uniform. As required, he remained motionless, though the tension in his shoulders showed he'd definitely taken notice of the booze-soaked tourist. After all, nothing infuriates a true guard more than blatant disrespect for the traditions he's sworn to protect. "Hey man, let's drink. I've got vodka in my backpack." The tourist mumbled loudly, eliciting a few snickers from the crowd. But the guard, stubbornly following his orders, didn't move a muscle or respond. It was as though his stoic face had been chiseled from stone. Still, nobody had a clue what would happen next. A couple of minutes later, as curious onlookers began whispering among themselves, the tourist made his next move, or more accurately, he stumbled closer to the guard. His sweat-drenched t-shirt was practically dripping, and the overpowering smell of alcohol, perspiration, and cheap fast food assaulted everyone's noses. Then came a truly audacious moment. The tourist spread his arms wide, trying to hug the guard. Some spectators whistled, a few chuckled, and others, judging by the shocked comments, were horrified by the disrespect. Social media posts popped up almost instantly, with people saying, "This is too much. The guard is a symbol of Britain, and this guy does this?" And, "Somebody stop him before he collapses onto the post." Naturally, there wasn't a flicker of a smile on the guard's face. His rigorous training wouldn't let him show emotion, yet a dangerous resolve lit up his eyes. By the book, he wasn't allowed to react to provocation, but this situation was clearly crossing all sorts of lines. The tourist let out a loud, drunken chuckle and tried yet again to lean against the unyielding defender of tradition. The guard's patience seemed dangerously close to its limit. When the tourist decided to take it even further, muttering something unintelligible while reaching for the bearskin cap, the guard abruptly broke protocol. As if on cue, he spoke in a loud, clear voice. "Step back! Immediately!" The crowd gasped. It's rare to see a guard leave his post, let alone speak with such a steely tone. Even in his drunken stupor, the tourist recoiled for a moment, eyes wide in disbelief. He clearly hadn't expected such a swift response. But instead of coming to his senses, the so-called party animal lifted his plastic bottle, filled with something murky, and acted like he was offering the guard a drink. "Hey buddy, chill out. Why are you so tense?" he slurred, clueless about how much trouble he was causing. Many in the crowd began shouting, "Knock it off! That's a soldier! This is a sacred tradition!" Some tried to steer the tourist's buddies away. Others called the police. At that moment, the guard showed real resolve. He stepped forward and placed his rifle in his hand, muzzle down, a clear sign that any more provocation would not go unanswered. The tension in the air was almost tangible. Apparently something short-circuited in the tourist's booze-addled brain, and he decided to go all in. "Fine, I'll drink alone," he bellowed, and out of some half-baked habit tried to give someone a hearty slap on the shoulder, only to strike the guard's rock-solid shoulder instead. That was more than enough for the guard to finally put his well-honed skills to use without a moment's hesitation. It happened so fast that most people missed the details. A sharp maneuver, and the tourist found himself stumbling backward, losing his balance and dropping his bottle. It clattered on the pavement while the offender landed right on the ground. Just then, a police officer rushed in and pinned him down as he tried to figure out where things had gone so wrong. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. "Serves him right," someone yelled. "Way to go, guard! Show some respect for tradition." Others chimed in. Almost instantly, comments started blowing up on social media. Finally, someone put these obnoxious clowns in their place, and back in the day, this would have been unthinkable. People actually respected culture. Now it's all about hype and drinking. The guard, looking calmer now, slowly returned to his post. He adjusted his uniform, took a breath, and, without a word, resumed his flawless stance. It was as if nothing had happened. Time slid back into the familiar routine of the Queen's Guard ceremony, yet everyone who witnessed the event left with one key realization. Behind the guard's seemingly unruffled demeanor lay a deep devotion to duty and an unwavering resolve to uphold the honor of tradition. As for that arrogant tourist, reeking of booze and sweat, he'd be sure to remember this lesson for the rest of his life.